Hey everyone! Today we're jumping into a really interesting story, a real-life legal showdown between a homeowner and their HOA. And trust me, while it starts out looking like a classic legal battle, the ending is, well, it's probably not what you're thinking.
So, you ever wonder what really happens when a fight with your homeowners association goes all the way to court? We picture these intense courtroom dramas, right? But as we're about to see, it doesn't always end in some big dramatic fight. Sometimes the resolution is something way more down to earth.
Okay, so let's set the stage for this thing. It's a classic setup, right? You've got one homeowner who's decided to take on the powers that be, the governing body of their own neighborhood. And just to be clear, this isn't some made-up story. This is a real case pulled right from the public record. We've got Patrick Renner, the homeowner, on one side, and on the other, the Ponderosa Trails Unit 8 Community Association. In other words, his HOA. So in all the legal paperwork, Mr. Renner is called the petitioner. That's basically just a fancy way of saying he's the one who started the legal action. And the HOA, they're the respondent, the ones who have to, respond. It's just the official labels for the two sides in this whole mess. You might be wondering, how did it even get this far? Well, it all started with a simple dispute. But then, Mr. Renner decided to take a pretty big step. He filed a formal petition with the state. And just like that, this wasn't just a friendly neighborhood chat anymore. Oh no, it got escalated big time. The state actually sent the case for a formal hearing with a judge. The battle lines were officially drawn.
All right, fast forward to the big day, the day of the hearing. You can just imagine it, right? Everyone's probably expecting lawyers making arguments, presenting evidence, and waiting for the judge to make a final ruling. But what actually went down was something else entirely. So picture this. It's April 23rd, 2008. The homeowner, he's there. The HOA has their lawyer there. The judge is on the bench, ready to go. I mean, the stage is perfectly set for this big legal showdown that's supposed to finally put this thing to rest. So this is it, right? The moment of truth. After all that buildup, who won? Did the homeowner get what he wanted? Did the HOA shut him down? Well, the answer is kind of neither. And here is the big twist in the story. According to the official court document, right as the hearing was about to kick off, both sides stood up and told the judge, hey, we've actually worked this out. The fight? It was over before it even started. They'd reached a settlement agreement all on their own.
Okay, so think about that for a second. This whole thing goes all the way to a formal hearing, and then they make a deal literally at the courthouse door. The big question is, what was in that deal? Let's break this agreement down. Honestly, the solution they came up with was just super practical. It really boiled down to four main things. First, the HOA agreed to pay Mr. Renner back for some of his costs. Second, he didn't have to worry about paying the HOA's legal bills. Third, and this is a big one, they set up a whole new way to handle future disagreements. And finally, the whole legal case was just, poof, dismissed.
So let's talk about the money part for a sec. What did the HOA actually pay back? Well, they covered the fee Mr. Renner had to pay just to file the case in the first place. Plus, they reimbursed him for the costs of getting a witness, with a subpoena. Now, it might not be a life-changing amount of money, but it's a real, tangible way of saying, yeah, we get that this cost you something. Okay, now this next part of the deal, using binding arbitration for any future problems, this is huge. Seriously. What it means is if they ever disagree again, they don't have to go through this whole court drama. Instead, they'll go to a neutral third party, like a referee, who hears both sides and makes a final call. That's it. It's a brilliant way to handle future conflicts without letting them blow up. So you might be thinking, wait, if they made a deal themselves, why does the judge even need to be involved anymore? Great question. The judge's job here is super important. They're the one who takes this private handshake deal and turns it into something with the full power of the law behind it. So the judge looked over everything they agreed to and basically gave it a big official stamp of approval. The judge even called it fair and just resolution for everyone involved. And that right there shows you something really cool about the legal system. It's not always about one side winning and one side losing. A lot of the time, it's about finding a solution that's actually fair. Another really key thing the judge did was confirm that both sides entered into this agreement knowingly and voluntarily. That's legal speak for nobody was twisting anyone's arm. Both the homeowner and the HOA knew exactly what they were agreeing to, and they did it willingly. That's what makes the whole thing legally rock solid. And with that, bam, the judge issues the final order, case dismissed. But here's the real kicker. Because it's an official court order, that settlement agreement is now fully enforceable. If either side tries to back out of the deal later, they could actually be held in contempt of court. So that little private agreement, it now has some serious teeth.
Okay, so why are we talking about this one case, right? What's the big takeaway here? Well, this story actually pulls back the curtain on something really fundamental about how our legal system is supposed to work. This one quote from the judge's final decision, this is everything. The policy of the law favors parties entering into settlement agreements. Think about that. It's not a bug in the system, it's a feature. The law actually prefers when people work things out themselves. It's designed to encourage this. The whole court system is meant to be the last resort, not your first option.
So, you see, the goal of all this legal stuff isn't always to have a big knockdown, drag-out fight. It's often about just finding a practical solution that both sides can actually live with. You know, something that saves everyone a ton of time, money, and headaches. This case is a perfect example of collaboration winning out over confrontation, literally on the steps of the courthouse. And that really leaves us with one final thought to chew on. This homeowner and their HOA, they found their solution at the absolute last minute. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many conflicts in our own lives, whether they're big or small, could we solve if we just focused on finding a fair solution long before the battle ever has a chance to begin?